Matt is a public affairs officer, Somali unit of the U.S. Embassy in Nairobi. Matt, welcome back.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be back on Radio Algiers.
Now let's get started. Share with us about the details of the latest U.S. press release on the TFG unilateral extension.
Well, I think we should be clear. What we're talking about here is in this case not the TFG, but the TFP, the Transitional Federal Parliament. As you know, and as your listeners know, the mandate for the Transitional Federal Government is coming to an end in August 2011. So we've got about 6 months to try to figure out what will replace that. Now, the international community has been urging both parts of the transitional federal institution, the government and the parliament, to consult very widely with all the stakeholders. First and foremost, that's the Somali people, both in Somalia and in the diaspora, but it also means having a dialogue with the international community that has done so much to support Somalia and the transitional federal government and the transitional federal parliament as we all collectively work to try to help and pull Somalia out of 20 years of conflict. That unfortunately didn't happen. Despite our urging, despite the urging from the Special Representative, the Secretary General, and the collective international community, what Parliament did was went ahead and had a very rushed vote that didn't consult widely, they practically didn't consult with anybody at all, and voted themselves a 3-year extension on their mandate. And this is troubling for us. It's no way to show the international community or the Somali people that they're a serious partner in trying to find a way out of the problems that Somalia has had. And that's our concern. We'd like them to reconsider their position, find a mechanism for consulting widely. As you know, there are lots of structures in Somalia that could be consulted. There's local administrations, there's clan groups, clan elders, civil society, community-based organizations. Those same structures exist in the diaspora. We'd like to see the parliamentarians have that consultation with Somali people and with their partners in the international community to find what the best way forward is. And don't forget, the Transitional Federal Parliament was already extended in 2009, and they're not really making any progress on their tasks. And so that's our concern.
For the first time, some tough wording used on the press release. For example, disservice to the Somali people, failure to deliver, unrepresentative, no credibility, self-serving. This is exactly what the Somali people have been saying about the TFG and TFB since its establishment. Please elaborate on that and why now?
Well, as I said previously, there is a big challenge to help make sure that there are appropriate structures and institutions in place after the mandate ends, and then some form of structure of government needs to be in place in order to help Somalia regain stability, rebuild itself, and that's what everybody wants to have happen. But we haven't seen the Parliament, and I want to be very clear, we're talking about the Parliament here. We haven't seen the Parliament make much progress. I think you have seen that the government's made a little bit of progress since the new government's come in, but we haven't seen a lot of progress from the Parliament on any of the tasks they're supposed to be doing, on, for example, moving towards a new constitution. What they have done is just unilaterally voted themselves back into a job. Now, if you're saying that there's expressions of frustration from the Somali people, there needs to be a mechanism by which the parliamentarians can get the views of those Somalis. I don't have a model for what it is. We're not spelling out and saying it must be this way, it must be that way. Ultimately, there needs to be a Somali solution to this. But that solution has to be truly Somali, and then it has to be arrived at after wide consultations. And that's what we're asking for.
Any coordination with Puntland state on how to respond to this unilateral decision?
Well, it's not the place of the United States government to tell the administration of Puntland what they're supposed to do. What the United States government has done is we've asked the Parliament to reconsider their position. They've taken a vote. That vote was not arrived at after consultations. They need to reconsider that. They need to make sure that what they're doing, in order to send a message that they are representative, that they are, serious and legitimate, they need to take in the views of the Somali people. Now, if there's a mechanism for creating a dialogue with the Parliament, with different groups in Puntland, as well as Somaliland, as well as through across the country, whether that's through an administration or whether that's through a clan group or a clan elder or civil society or a community-based organization. We would strongly encourage that. If the media wants to share the view of the common person on the street with the parliament, newspapers, radio program, that would be fantastic.
And finally, share with us about the leadership process. Who in the international community is leading this new figure in the international community, in this new energy in the international community? The UN, African Union, and the European Union have all new press releases.
No, I understand your question, but as you just pointed out yourself, press releases have come from a variety of partners to the Somali people from the international community. This is not just the United States. It's not just the United Nations. It's just not the African Union. It's not just the European Union. We are all partners in partnering with the Somali people as we try and help the Somali people and the Somali government stabilize Somalia, bring peace back to Somalia, and help rebuild Somalia. It's not a question of one person being in the lead, but I think that you can see by the strong reaction from those press releases that you mentioned that there's real concern from a wide swath of the international community, which wasn't consulted by the parliament before the parliament went ahead with this vote. And as I said previously, there's a lot of stakeholders here. First and foremost, it's the Somali people. It's the Somali people in Somalia and the Somalis in the diaspora. But an equally important part are the international partners who spent millions and millions of dollars over the years